controlling the golem once more, and Odd1's not in a good place.
No, he's not, and here comes the ball. Command attack going in. Are they going to catch it special out? We see the undertow, and here he comes. More undertows going down. Exhaust now on St. Vicious. Another undertow. He won't get it. Flashes over the wall. Odd1 getting low. Westrice chasing up. Jackie coming in. Will they get the kill? Odd1 goes down for first blood for Curse.
It looks like Reginald's just not able to chase that one down. So right away, oh, actually, Jackie getting pushed away. Reginald forcing the flash out. He's still moving in on this. But they've got teammates nearby. There's almost no way Reginald keeps fighting here.
No, St. Vicious will actually go back to pick up his jungle. Elements roaming around in mid lane. Jackie actually relatively low. He's already popped a couple potions, so he won't have the same kind of sustain in lane. That'll give Reginald an advantage. Reginald also running a ton of magic resist runes here in this middle lane to stay alive early.
Oh, that's going to be pretty common overall, and good thing about Katarina as well is without needing mana, you can run extra mastery points in defense. As a melee champion, she gets magic resist per level as well, so it's going to be hard for Jackie to harass Reginald out. I mean, he's got basic attacks that'll do some pretty good damage because he's got some physical damage there, but as far as just pure ability spam, yeah, Reggie's not going to lose health too quickly in this lane.
So, Freak, what do you think about the quirky Darius lane that we're seeing top? Because Elements is actually walking around helping St. Vicious jungle right now. I
think it's really, really smart because it's worked so far for him. You know, actually, if you really go back in the day, AD carries used to solo top lane or mid or whatever, but you know, it's the kind of thing that you've seen before from teams back in the day, especially American teams where, you know, they were kind of the first tournament winners. You know, Americans really started out on top.
Here comes the dazzle onto Reginald. He's going to force the Shunpo out.
Yeah, that's really good. And that sort of roam Taric play is actually really, really smart. It's the kind of thing we saw Dignitas try to do at the World Championship. Unfortunately, it didn't work too well for them in the group stage, but these plays from Elements have given them both golem buffs. It's given them a lot of pressure all around the lanes. It's given them first blood. I like these moves. It's working for him.
Great, and Elements is going to sit there in mid and soak up some of that extra experience. You think he's going to actually go for some sort of heavy roam for a while, picking up boots and mobility first, perhaps?
It's going to completely depend on how well Cop does up against Dyrus. You can look at the minion kill difference, and it's honestly basically identical. It's 27 to 26. So as long as Cop's doing fine here, I don't think they need to have Taric babysit him. You know, they're free to give Corki extra levels and make him, you know, just make him more powerful over time. The difficulty, though, is that they've kind of forced Westrice into a pretty bad 1v2, and he's 12 to 35 in minions as a result. So if you can't keep the pressure on, they're going to have to get him somewhere.
So we noticed that Jackie just came back with that Chalice of Harmony as the first item, but no potions. So he's got to be a little bit careful there in that mid lane because any trades will actually result in a potential kill and gank. Elements now finally rejoining Cop up in that top lane.
And it's going to put some pressure on Dyrus. You're going to see him take a bit of burst, although they're not going to engage too hard on the minions because, again, he has the chance to pull Corki in and put some damage out with Decimate. So they're going to try to zone Dyrus away from minions, but that's going to be pretty much their strategy here is try to kind of equalize those minion kills because right now Westrice is really lacking, and they need to kind of put Dyrus down.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have Cop now shoving this lane, actually. It's going to be sitting under turret soon, so we're going to have a mirror across the map of the lane freezes from top to bottom for each team. Westrice is having a bit of trouble. Looks like he is going to be leveling Ground Slam first to do some AoE damage to those minions as they repeatedly get shoved underneath his turret. Yeah,
it's interesting because they're not pushing all that hard. They're still trying to last hit and zone, and in that kind of situation, you'd expect to see Seismic Shard leveled for the extra last hit power. Although, you know, Westrice going Ground Slam means he wants to keep his turret alive, and he wants to also be more productive if he gets turret dove, because basic attacks are going to be the largest source of damage output right here, and so the attack speed slow will help him survive those kind of situations. And we saw something very similar, honestly, in CLG versus Sword, where they pushed that top lane, or sorry, that bottom lane, they pushed Hotshot to his turret, and they dove in with a jungler. This is the kind of thing I would expect to see Odd1 show up and kind of replicate that sort of success.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's check out the items so far. Skarner looks like he's going to go for the early Philosopher's Stone, so no boots of mobility first on either jungler. So that tends to indicate that we're going to be going to more jungling or counter-jungling play as opposed to gank-heavy game.
And in fact, that's exactly what it is, because here comes St. Vicious and Elements once more up at that golem buff. And it's going to be really hard for the Odd1 to do anything. He's got no ward coverage. That's been smited away. St. Vicious now level 5, and it's very, very easy. They've let Taric stay at the top lane if he does stay in lane, or simply roam around, and he's got full control.
You know, what I love about this, too, is that Skarner is a very blue-dependent jungler, so it really actually has slowed the Odd1 down. The multiple taking of those buffs. In the meantime, St. Vicious just returns to his his own jungle there, clears out his Wraith camp, and heads on his merry way up to Golems. No real action yet here at the 8-minute mark, but a 600 gold difference and an early lead for Curse.
And the other thing about all this counter jungling, it's kind of the main point about how this game is being different, and how Curse is going to win this, is there's a lot of things that hurts the odd one here. So for example, you can see the later Philosopher's Stone because, the early jungling did not go his way, and so Saint's going to be richer than him. But also, odd one needs gold for a Shurelya's Reverie. It's kind of the big core item on Skarner that makes him really what he is, allows him to initiate a fight and pull someone in. But the longer they delay Philosopher's Stone, the more they deny minions, the later that comes in, and the later TSM's real strategy actually comes into effect. And the cool thing about this for Curse is that because he's going to need so much gold, and he's going to need so much help taking his own wraiths and things like that, Reginald doesn't get to take wraiths nearly as much himself, and so they can actually slow down Reginald by hurting Oddone because he'll need wraiths.
Right, and we see Reginald going ahead and pushing this mid lane right here. We haven't seen any kind of roaming from here, which is a bit unusual given his typical playstyle. He's been quite passive and happy to farm in the early part of this game.
Well, he roamed around and did as much damage as he could early on, but yeah, this mid lane is a bit of a farm lane. Reginald's not going to be able to put down a lot of pressure on Orianna because she's going to trade too well. Because the thing is, Reginald's maxing Sinister Steel. It's a melee range ability. It's really obvious when Reggie's going to get into range to cast this, and with Nightjackie having a fast Chalice, she'll always have mana for the shield, and she'll always have magic resist from the ball and from the Chalice as well. So Reggie's never going to poke through that shield, and he'll just take counterattack damage.
Yeah. And he's pushing up the lane again, but still staying put. Jackie just up 1 CS onto Katarina. So what do you think about Katarina's potential late game if she doesn't get these early game kills?
I think she'll still be okay because she's farming reasonably well, is keeping up with Jackie and minions. And once Skarner kind of gets under his, gets on his 6 legs and is okay, then she'll start taking wraiths away. She can maybe start taking wolves as well. And that's how Odd One plays. He lets his solos get farmed. He runs around and gets his gold through ganks, not so much his own jungle. And being a champion who's going to get, Philosopher's Stone, maybe a Heart of Gold later on, he can kind of sustain his gold income with his items. You can see just like right now, Reginald's actually going for his own Wraith camp as Odd One takes red. So you'll see him get his farm up. You'll see Reginald still reach that late game status. Looks
like they're converging on their blue right now. Westrice is going to go ahead and start it because, wow, and here comes the gank onto Reginald. There goes the shockwave. They're bursting him down. Exhaust has been hit, and will they get the kill? Jackie will finish it off, and that'll be 2-0 kills for Curse.
That's a really, really good roam. They're going to miss some minions at the top lane, but it's totally fine right there. They're just going to simply take the dragon for themselves. No big deal. And watch, you look at that. Westrice teleports to the top lane to clean that up. Doesn't even give away minion kills as a result. And so Curse has been really playing this early game extremely well orchestrated.
And here comes the fight. They are going to try and go in onto Elements. Are they going to be able to steal the dragon? It's still up, and TSM takes it. They will get the first dragon of the game, and maybe some kills as well. St. Vicious very low. On one, flashing over, tagging him with the red buff, and that is a dead Viking.
And that's unfortunate. The double kill. Westrice also being pushed around. Dyrus with a 2-level lead on him as well. Yeah, that's just an amazingly good fight. The smites not being used on time. Really, Oddone was down the whole time. That was purely on St. Vicious to not smite that too early because he didn't have a chance of that getting stolen from him. They simply, miscommunicated that battle. It's really unfortunate because, that's all they really needed. It's just get the smite, take the experience, and get out. And they weren't able to because they sat around like, who's going to do what on Dragon, and they stutter step, like someone didn't make a call, and you can't have that happen. You can't be confused and slow in a fight like that. It gave TSM the gold lead.
Yeah, not only that, but it was sitting with just a sliver, like one auto attack of health for a good couple seconds there without anybody taking the initiative.
Oh, man. So we're seeing the lanes reset now. Westrice, he's going to be one-on-one up against Dyrus in that top lane. Looks like the reign of Rome Taric is starting to get kind of slowed down right now. They're still about to be, 4 for 4 on golem buff so far for Curse, but they've kind of stopped crushing the odd one now. He's got 2 assists. He's got his double gold pretend. He's actually ahead of St. Vicious in gold pretends now. You can see the Heart of Gold finish on one side, not on the other. So just that fight was all it took to turn it around, and TSM, I mean, everything they need is winning. They've got more kills more minion kills in their AD carry. They've got more minion kills in their top lane. They've got more gold, or at least more gold potential on their jungler. And Reginald still having a good time despite being, one of the early kills of the game.
Well, even though TSM is up a little bit early, this is what I would expect with their team comp. Their goal with this team comp really has to be to get an early advantage because this synergy coming out with the kind of AoE ultimates and how strong Olaf can get in terms of killing carries into the late game. I have to say that Curse has a very good opportunity to win this game game, even if they get a little further behind than they already are, just in that late game due to their team composition.
It's going to be interesting, though, because it depends on what they can pull, what odd one can flash grab, and what odd one can Shirelli away with. Because while there is an amazing team fight potential for Curse, right, it's a bunch of area of effect. Olaf's going to be a terror. Oh, actually, St. Vicious, though, not in the best of places.
Yeah, he's actually going to get apprehended there by Dyrus. Here comes the dunk, and the passive looked like it finished him off. That or the ignite, one of the two.
That's the kill pickup. I mean, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of mid-game power, though, on this TSM squad. This early mid-game you talk about. You know, they do need to win it, and they're doing a very good job of it. That's really where Dyrus Dyrus on Darius, his power really comes from, is he's going to constantly just mess with people and really set up a lot of situations just for himself. And he's going to keep doing that. And thing is, Curse needs an answer here because Westrice didn't have the best lane, so he can't even square off one-on-one.
Right, and I think that really St. Vicious was looking to, you know, he was getting trying to get some more counter jungling in there, but he got caught out by the ward. But really, without, you know, the way Dyrus is pushing right now, without the escapes on Darius as a champion, it actually is quite easy to gank him, and they probably could run him down with the combination of Olaf and Malphite damage.
Yeah, but the unfortunate thing is that, you know, the last fight right there was basically a series of 2 one-on-ones. Westrice popped his ult, but it was, you know, kind of too late. St. Vicious the same way. The armor and magic resist gained by Ragnarok was not enough to keep him alive against the bleed. And so they do have to go in actually as a dedicated unit. You know, whether they pull the Roam Taric back in or something, they absolutely could team out on Dyrus. They really, really could. But they've left him alone almost the entire game so far.
Yeah, so we were talking earlier about that that Malphite teleport up top to try and save that tower, and that was really the undoing of that dragon fight as well. It was an easy dragon without it, and a bit of an unnecessary port. It was a play that could have worked out. Okay.
Well, it should have worked because they had already gotten that kill on Original. They had, by all rights, a 4-on-3 just waiting for them, and they managed to lose out on that fight because, you know, TSM showed up at the right time. They burned their cooldowns appropriately. They let the Dragon do all the damage it needed, and they cleaned up. It should have been theirs, though. It was an honest just 4-on-3.
And, you know, that's really the power of TSM. You see their ability to call targets in team fights. They can win team fights against some of the best teams in the world, considering they're also one of the best teams in the world. But really, you know, that's their strength. Their laning can go so-so from time to time, but really it's that late game and the coordination that sets them apart from many other teams.
Oh, absolutely. It's always what separates a lot of these top teams. Odd one, a nice attempt at the bottom lane. Takes a stun, though, from Taric, and he gets himself out. But that was a bit of a risky spot. You saw the Solar Flare come out just then as well. And yeah, this is really, as you just said, the team fight potential. I think that's really what separates the very, very best teams from the great teams that aren't just quite at the top of the world. Is, I mean, you saw that at the World Championship as well. The early games, you know, would go to either team, and that didn't matter so much. It was absolutely the team fighting that caused wins to go one way or the other. And that's always been TSM's power. You just saw that first comeback was because they could out team fight even in a 3-on-4.
And now we have the gank coming off from St. Vicious up on the top lane. There's the undertow, but it was a little bit of a missed axe. He had to go and juke over to the side to pick it up again. They'll get some damage down. Apprehend into the turret, taking a few turret shots, and I think that Dyrus came out quite well on that one.
And that's the unfortunate thing because Westrice had such a bad lane. He's got just Ninja Tabby and 2 gold pretend items. If he had a good time in lane, if he had, you know, maybe a kill or you know, 30 more minions, just like 50 like Dyrus has, he would have had like a Glacial Shroud or at least a Warden's Mail or something, and could have actually survived into that turret and just dove it and picked up the kill. So that early game is kind of resulting in a lack of aggression. Possibly.
Yeah, either that or he could have gone the build that we saw Najin's sword using last time with the Chalice of Harmony into Haunting Guys to do a lot of spam spells and everything like that. So the game continuing here, and
we're up on camera.
We're up on camera, apparently. So,
all right. Well, you know,
the game is still unfolding right here. So I will narrate the action. Looks like we're having a little bit of a dragon dance here into the dragon pit. The odd one actually looking like he's going to be sitting in front of that pit. They do have a vision ward on it. Well, let's see. We have Curse coming in, trying to contest. Both teams are all there right now, and they are going to chase the split members of TSM.
All right, so we can see here that they've got a lot of ward coverage overall, and if you look at that, right, you've got, you know, TSM's got a bit of vision. Actually, they've got enough. They see him completely in the dragon or in the golem pit. They know exactly what's going on here. On the flip side, you've got again full vision from Curse. So really, in both these cases, they're completely able to sort of control out the dragon area. You've got this pink ward though. but the thing is, it doesn't see any of the relevant wards, so they're not able to completely sweep out from Curse. And so both these teams with full vision, neither team could start Dragon, because they'll just get counterattacked if that happens, really. So, you know, it's kind of a stopped aggression, though TSM's still waiting around. They feel safe with that ward, but again, Curse, they see him go in. They know exactly what's going on here from TSM. They're trying to wait in the Dragon Pit, and KX, though, he might get caught out here.
Oh, yeah, it looks like we are going to see the flash over the wall, so Nijaki avoids the odd one. We're going in now. There comes the shockwave, but it stacks with the unstoppable force, and now it's just a mess in the middle. Elements coming in. He's going to get killed by Darius. Dyrus picking up a triple kill. Reginald sealing the deal on Cop for the perfect ace.
Oh, man, a 5 for nothing. That's exactly how that's exactly how they want that fight to go.
So...
Wow.
This is the classic blunder for Curse. They do this every time. They do these extended dances around Dragon. Usually it's the Baron dance. They manage to like psych themselves out of proper positioning, and then they just lose. They throw games like this. This is their curse. They have been, we've called it the curse in the past. They do the dance and they always lose. You don't tango with Curse.
Man, that's just unfortunate. I mean, they had all the right moves there. They got the great initiation. Everyone got incredibly low. You know, you saw all those champions get dropped in health so incredibly hard, and I just got to keep attributing it to you know, Curse gave Westrice a really bad lane. They gave him a 1 versus 2, and he had nowhere near the farm of Dyrus, and so he's not putting out that damage. When you look at the Mach Noon Malphite, where he was just churning out damage with a max magic penetration build and levels and everything else, he was crushing health bars. If they had a guy who had some damage, they would have, you know, instantly double killed or triple killed that initiation combo. When Malphite and Orianna came in, sure, they stacked their crowd controls a bit. Sure, that's not the best thing in the world, but that doesn't really matter that much when you've got a lot of damage potential. You can just carry it with that. Westrice now getting caught a little bit, not in the best place. Chaos still putting the damage. The flash might just keep him alive. He's bleeding profusely. Chaos is almost hit it. That would have been the kill for sure.
What a dodge from Westrice. You could see him with that split-second reaction, seeing the true shot barrage come over the wall, just getting a little juke to miss that true shot. So, but in the meantime, we did see Dyrus, after picking up that triple, going ahead and backing to buy a pretty early Warmogs here on top of the items he already has. He's going to start stacking that up, and eventually he's just going to be unkillable.
And Jackie stole away almost all those wraiths right there. Excellent. Yeah, you're right. You know, Dyrus is getting really, really massive now. He had a good lane again. He was in a one-on-one with someone who wasn't pressuring him very hard. He's had, you know, now an amazing team fight with a triple kill. And you saw, you know, the earlier gank on, or sort of the counter gank on St. Vicious that was not long ago. Dyrus has had just kind of his dream game here, where he's just getting gold from all these kinds of sources, and he's performing the main tank role, because Odwin, again, he's going to rush a Shirelius here. That's what that Ruby Crystal's for. He's going to be a little bit tanky, but really Dyrus is going to kind of just walk his manly chin up there and just start dunking people in team fights. That's his job, and he can rely on his base damages and those 2 Doran's blades to make that work. He's going to be completely happy here the entire time. The difficulty, though, is, you know, he can cause his own resets. He can keep killing people and controlling a battle himself. And now with that Warmogs, and with now, I'm going to guess a Sunfire Cape next up, there's nothing for Curse to kill that. Cop doesn't have enough gold yet to destroy Dyrus by himself.
Yeah, and also, you know, you're absolutely right. He's just not going to be able to get there. And if they get a Baron or anything like that, the amount of health regen combined with Warmog's armor, is any damage that they do to him in terms of burst is just going to be immediately healed.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the siege potential is just going to go through the roof. And we also don't have a lot of damage coming out from Jackie yet. He went for the fast Athene's Unholy Grail, so his burst isn't there just because his AP is still relatively low at 127. I also want to point out, you were talking about the damage that the 2v1 lanes did for Curse, and if you take a look, we have Dyrus up 50 CS over Westrice. That is so much money.
Yeah, the one thing that Westrice has done, though, is he went double gold pretend there. He got the Heart of Gold and the Philosopher's Stone, and that was, you know, to try to bridge that gap. Now, he knew when he was back in the 1v1 against Dyrus that he couldn't really exert himself there. You know, when they finally unswapped that lane and Elements, you know, and Cop went up against Chaos and Xpecial again, you know, they put themselves back in a 2-on-2. They put Westrice back in the 1-on-1. And he just said, okay, well, you know, I can't really fight you very much, but I'll just stack gold for 10, and then we'll be okay. And you saw that actually backfire just a little bit when St. Vicious did come in for that gank. Again, if West Rice had items there, they could have dove that turret and started snowballing him ahead. Now he's just trying to play catch-up. And the difficulty, though, as well, is he's going full tank at this point. Because he didn't have a good early game, he can't rely on his burst damage to, like, crush TSM's lineup, so he's going frozen hard. He's going to go a lot more health afterwards. Sunfire might be the next buy afterwards. And so he's going to be, you know, this sort of low-threat, high crowd control champion. But that's the same for Jackie here, where, yeah, he's got the Athene's Unholy Grail. You pick Orianna for her control, for her crowd control, and for her just sort of general map presence and helping her team out. But it's going to be until he finishes Death Cap. It's going to be another 2,000 gold before he also becomes a damage threat. And so there's, you know, a jungler who's, again, double gold for 10 and Aegis. Olaf not going to do that much damage. Cop just with the Trinity Force, again, not a whole lot of damage. So there's no one who's really in danger of dying here for Team Solo Mid.
So when we're talking about this low damage lineup, so I'm curious, is the tons of damage metric or English? So is it going to be grams of damage or ounces of damage?
Oh, it's going to be ounces.
Ounces of damage. Okay, good to know.
Yeah,
I'm glad we could clear up the
American.
standard. Okay.
I spell color
gotcha.
without a U.
Good man.
I'm sorry, D-Man, but it's how you spell the word. Even though you invented English, it doesn't matter.
Going back, with the Aegis is really a strange pickup that we see right now. Of course, he's using it to stay in the game, but you were talking about how West Rice on Malphite had to kind of do the triage build so that he would stay alive. Well, we're seeing the same thing here from St. Vicious. Now, the problem is that without the Kindle Gem and the Shurelias, he can't do the true damage because the cooldown for Reckless Swing will be on a higher cooldown. And there we go, a little bit of damage, a little love tap there from Reginald onto St. Vicious with that Sinister Steel.
Yeah, and that's going to be kind of what's happening here. Now, I don't really dislike Gold Pretend Olaf, because as long as he gets levels, and by the time you're level 13, you'll have that maxed Reckless Swing. But the problem is you need to actually have a pretty good mid-game. The difficulty here is, you know, he had to rush an Aegis, and he didn't have a great game. He's 0-3. They didn't get any dragons. They have no turret kills as well, and he's only participated in that one assist. So, you know, and you can't come into the game expecting to have an 0-3 game. So he came in expecting, yeah, I'll go Gold Pretend, but I'll get assists, and we'll get ganks, and it'll be fine. You've got to play confidently and play at the top level. The difficulty, though, is they haven't had a very good game, and so St. Vicious, you know, his build is sort of stalled out. He needs 3 levels before his damage becomes hyper-relevant again.
And 3 members of Curse on the top of the map will mean an absolutely free dragon for TSM. That'll put them up another 1,000 gold and get them up to about an 8,000 gold lead.
Yeah, and that is TSM knowing that they have map control. I am a little bit surprised. This is interesting because when we watched Najin Sword against Counterlogic Gaming North America, as soon as they had this kind of lead, they were pushing constantly. They would, you know, catch double lift out, farming bottom solo, and then pushing in and picking up kills and everything like that. You know, they would repeatedly play aggressive. Team Solo Mid, they're not really doing that. They're kind of keeping back to their lanes. I mean, they're fighting pretty well, but they haven't pushed a lot up until now. Finally, right now they finally got their 3 turret kills. They've finally taken that second dragon, and now they're really going for moves.
Yeah, the difference though is that Sword was, you know, Sword is renowned as a diving team, and they play pick comps. And what we're seeing TSM right now is another pick comp. You have the Impale, you have the Apprehend, you have all the hard CC coming off from Sona, as well as the burst from Katarina. They could be picking, but they're not trying to catch somebody out in a lane. They're just trying to push these turrets. So I think it's a bit difference in philosophy, and Najin Sword, I think, understands how to play these comps maybe just a little bit better than TSM.
Yeah, I just kind of get the feeling, just because of how well Sword closed out the game compared to how well TSM is closing this one out. They're certainly playing phenomenally well. They've made no mistakes. No one's got caught out. They're still picking up advantages. They are now 4 turrets to 0, you know, and they've got their dragons as well. I just, you know, the pace is just that little bit slower than I would expect, though they're making great decisions when they do get into fights.
Yeah, so I think that this isn't a team comp that TSM has run for an extremely long time. You know, Darius is a relatively recent pickup for Dyrus, and Katarina is a relatively recent pickup for Reginald.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're still trying to learn how to use all of these champions together. It's certainly not as crisp as, say, their Nocturne Karthus, you know, kind of tower dives.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those are pretty brutal, and you know, it's cool because it's a strategy we've seen TSM run online, and it's interesting because that's kind of the M5 BenQ philosophy of strategies, is that they'll come up with things in scrimmages, and they'll come up with things as theorycraft, but they like try out their new strategies in online tournaments. Because that's where they think they'll get their best practice, and then if they feel good about it, they'll actually bring it to a LAN environment. And so TSM, again, they've been running this online for a little while now, and they said, you know what, yes, we think this Darius-Katarina Skarner combo is the kind of thing we want to run. And I mean, this is pretty much an exact comp we've seen them run before, and they feel confident with it, though. You know, that even though they are new champions, they've rehearsed this enough to say, yep, this is the kind of strat we want to run. You know, they're now moving for their 5th turret kill. It seems that they are finally grouping up and going for that pressure. Reginald now with that Guardian Angel, that Warmog's Frozen Mallet, it seems, is the pickup now coming in for Dyrus as well.
Yeah, you know, I have to say I really like the Frozen Mallet pickup because of the hard engage coming out of Curse. You know, they have elements, they have Westrice with that unstoppable force, and the Frozen Mallet, what's great about this is that if Curse chooses to engage and Darius can get there, there's really going to be no chance for a disengage at all from Curse, and they'll be able to pick off anybody who actually goes into the mob.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Westrice and Jackie and Saint will all go in. The difficulty is they're not going to be likely to leave. I mean, Saint maybe can with his ultimate, but yeah, if Curse chooses an engage and it doesn't go well, it's going to be very, very brutal for them. Now, they do have the tools to win a fight. Again, they are a bursty team, and there are champions that can die overall. You know, even though Reginald has that Guardian Angel, they can still burst out Katarina and, you know, drop her health bar down and then pick her back up when it ends. And if they don't have a big damage threat there, if Reginald gets no abilities off, then yeah, you know, there won't be any dunks coming from Darius.
Here comes the teleport by Westrice into the middle of TSM. He immediately gets chunked for half-life. Reginald looking a little grow up in that top lane. And Dyrus, call him Kareem, because there's the dunk. They're coming in. Saint Vicious now running out with that dissonance. Reginald goes down. GA Proxy will revive, but everybody on Curse looking low. Dyrus, another dunk. And there goes Jackie as well. So that Baron baiting out the likes of Curse, and now there's going to be a hard push onto this turret in mid lane. That'll be an inhibitor.
It's going to be theirs for sure. Now they're going to count out the death timers from Curse and decide if they want to go for Baron or if they want to leave and heal up and stop that potential. But, you know, honestly, with KX being at full health and Dyrus still very tanky, and they've got enough time, they could run for it if they really wanted to, or they could play very low risk, make sure they've all got health bars back up. You'll expect to see Odd One and Reginald, especially the ones to heal, or at least, you know, spell vamp or something, but try to keep their health bars in a decent place, and then make sure Curse can't go for a comeback Baron.
Yeah, so they're going to be up plenty of time to reach Baron by the time that the rest of Curse revives, so no counter Baroning here for Curse Gaming. Like you said, a very, very safe choice. Frozen Mallet now completed for Dyrus, and we have the Shirelias up along with Aegis of the Legion on Odd One. He'll be using that to full effect for his utility. Chaox now picking up that red buff before going back. Things are looking good for Team Solo Mid. 10,000 gold up at 30 minutes.
Yeah, there was one small window just 20 seconds ago where Reginald was still farming up top lane as Katarina because they had just won that fight, but his Guardian Angel was down and he was at half health. I mean, and he's really the big playmaker, damage dealer on that team. I mean, yes, of course, you're seeing 6 kills on Dyrus, and of course, Chaox is plenty rich as well. But with Reginald at half health, their cooldowns were all back, basically. Westrice got killed before he got Unstoppable Force. St. Vicious's cooldowns are low. Jackie's cooldowns are low. They had everything up and available to fight again if they wanted to go back in. And their only times to go back in are when someone from TSM is unavailable. And that was Reginald for a short time. But they just kind of sat in mid lane. They didn't get much out of it. And now TSM, they've got full control of the Baron Pit, ward coverage everywhere, and Curse is not even looking to stop them.
Well, Saint's down there in the bottom lane, getting hit a bunch by Reginald, taking some damage. He'll pop Shirelias, but that's going to be a free Baron for TSM as Reggie goes to make sure that that tower isn't pushed. 5-1 towers, Baron up now for TSM, and here comes the push.
And they're going to like this pretty much. There's pretty much no way that TSM wants to stop or delay this game any longer. You know, that late game is always a possibility. Corky's always going to have a good late game. He has great damage overall. Last Whisper almost completed, which will allow him to do a bit more damage to that front line. But really, TSM, they've got all the tools they need. They've got an 11,000 gold lead. They've got the Baron buff now, which is you know, worth just so much gold worth of stats as well. I think they're happy to just charge in and make their lives easy and close this game out.
Yeah, Chaox, by the way, leading the pack with 11,300 gold. The closest member on Curse is Jackie with 9,000, so he's well ahead. He's going to go ahead and finish up that GA soon, and with the double GA, once Reggie's is back up, we're seeing some Moscow 5 style play with stacking GAs here.
It's a good build, and overall, you know, when you're an all-in sort of team, when you need to initiate with your faces because half your, or really 4/5 of your comp is melee, you've got to be under some turrets sometimes. You know, Curse is a pretty well, you know, structured team. They're smart. They don't get too greedy. They're gonna, you know, generally speaking, try to defend underneath their turrets, especially against something like a Baron buff. And having a Guardian Angel gives you, you know, the armor you need to survive turret shots, and then even the revive itself allows them to keep walking forward and play aggressively. You saw in the last fight, Reginald knew he had Guardian Angel and walked forward forward knowing he would die because the rest of Curse sat there shooting him and allowed Dyrus to pick up 2 more kills.
And we didn't even mention it there, guys, but there was actually St. Vicious just died straight up in a solo duel to Reginald in bottom lane, just pushing again down at the bottom like we saw when they were doing the Baron. Looks like he's channeling Hotshot right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of the way they're going to get through this one, is they need to buy time somehow. And one of their biggest carries, I mean, their number 2 carry here is going to be St. Vicious with Olaf. Of course, yeah, they're going to rely on Corki a lot, but they've got to rely on Saint as well. And hey, he's back in time. You know, again, it was still a Baron buff team solo mid. You don't want to defend an inhibitor turret when you're behind and against a Baron buff because they will just dive you on those.
Yeah, Apprehend going to do a little bit of damage to Westrice, but Dyrus going to take some more hits from the turret. And you got to like, actually, Curse's comp for turtling against these turrets. They can pretty much just dazzle anybody who gets in the mid lane or in front. They can put Westrice in front and with the Frozen Heart and the Ground Slam and really slow down any kind of auto attacks that are coming out of basically Dyrus, and if he wants to be diving into that turret.
Yeah, so you know, it's a good defensive team overall. The difficulty, though, is that everyone on TSM is going to be tanky, and KX will be in the back.
And that'll be a grab onto Jackie, and there's the dunk again. Element's gonna be hit, and there goes Westrice's Malphite Curse. St. Vicious running back to that Slain inhibitor, and that'll be lights out for him. Dribble kill for Reginald.
And there it is, 17-2, team solo mid. And there's a surrender, TSM. They're gonna take game 1 against Curse here at the MLG Fall Championships.